Hello. It's been a little while since I've posted anything. Let's just say the past few weeks have been pretty busy. But now I've got four new poems that I want to share with you. This first one is named Creme Brulee, and let me read it first and then I'll say a few words about it. Creme Brulee. The blue face of your flames mingles with my orange sea. Compliments at last. Why did it take so long for our schemes to align? Color coordinated fantasies unleashed in a dish. I love the warmth of your body as I sweep over your ashes, the remains of a conflict now extinguished. Please don't mar me temporarily. Mark me forever with your charcoal dreams, the makeshift mascara you inundate me with whenever you cling to my waves. Now, that poem is a bit more whimsical in nature, and honestly, I must admit, I'm not the biggest fan of creme brulee, period. However, I was working on this poem for a while, and it took me a while to think of a title. And finally, I was doing some research, and when I came across creme brulee, I'm like, okay, I think that's it, particularly for this type of poem. Once again, it's more of an associative poem than anything else, along with some insinuations and innuendo here and there. But that's the fun thing about poetry, or one of the many fun things about poetry. Let's say E. E. Cummins also loved to do poems of this nature as well. And some, I would say, he got far more randy than I did. All right. Now, this next one is called Avalanche. And I would say that some of my inspiration for this haiku came from Fleetwood Mac's Landslide. I've always loved that song by Fleetwood Mac. And there was also this really great cover by the Smashing Pumpkins of that same song by Fleetwood Mac as well. And I remember when I was first getting into music back in '94, I remember, and of course, I really am dating myself now, but back when HFS was still an alternative rock radio station, I remember tuning in, and they would play this one cover of Landslide by the Smashing Pumpkins, you know. And years later, I actually heard the original by Fleetwood Mac, and I guess if nothing else, that song really it's definitely bittersweet, yeah, if nothing else. It also reminds me of sometimes how I feel as I get older as well. And yeah, so let me read the haiku. Avalanche. Snow paints the backyard in a peerless white. Faceless, the ground breathes lightly. And once again, like I said, part of the inspiration for this haiku was Landslide by Fleetwood Mac. And I think one of the things that song really reminds me of, um, among other things, of course, is just that as one tends to age, sometimes you just become invisible after a certain point. You sort of fade into the background. And there's many different reasons for why this occurs. And of course, I could probably make a whole poetry collection just on that theme alone. But I think there's some times where some of the people around me really get bothered by being invisible. However, for myself personally, sometimes I prefer that, depending on the circumstances and what's going on. And yeah, that's what I was reminded of when I was looking out in my backyard one day and there was snow on the ground. And sometimes when the snow has just recently fallen and nothing has waded through it or trudged through it, it's just this sheet of white everywhere. And it looks, in many regards, so pristine. And of course, as the day goes on and and whatnot. Then, like I said, various animals trudge through it, and then temperatures change, and the snow starts looking rather dingy after a certain point. So, this next one is called In Keith Clark Park, Sydney, New York. And let me, if nothing else, I remember when I was growing up, there were various young men and women who would love to carve their names in the trees. Now, of course, oftentimes they were doing that to commemorate relationships and whatnot. And at least for myself, I guess I have a bit of a different viewpoint on that. And so let me just read the poem. In Keith Clark Park, Sydney, New York. What's the point of carving my name? I don't need a permanent record of my existence. I have the right to be forgotten, much like this tree. I'm not that important. And that's how I feel about that. You know, of course, yes, I acknowledge that perhaps I have a bit of a different viewpoint on just things like legacy and heritage than other people, but for me, I have no problems being forgotten in certain regards. I mean, for lack of better terms, we all, after a certain point, will be forgotten. Even Shakespeare, though, I mean, he's still read today, but I still get the sense that with enough time, he'll be forgotten too. Though, I mean, if our species continues to live, or is even alive in 100 years, with a lot of things that are going on right now, yeah. If there's no one left, then in essence, what's the point of Shakespeare, right? Well, then again, maybe it's just for here and now. Alright, and this final poem is entitled To the Anniversary of a Non-Event. And I imagine that a number of people who will view this video have been in a situation where you may have an interest in someone else and the other person just does not have the same interest. And so that's sort of the genesis of this poem. And I also was playing around with things like fire and water and a lot of the elements. So this is called To the Anniversary of a Non-Event. I want fire, yet I create rain. I want to pass through life like wind, yet I stumble like dirt. I want sunny trees and clouds, yet I end up with shadowy stars. I want a desert to traverse, yet I'm given an ocean to float across. I want magic in a mason jar, but all I've received is a trapped fly gasping for air. I want a tombstone replete with azaleas and gardenias, but I don't even have a rock to etch my thoughts on. I want to inspire you, the blue dress of my dreams, but all you are is a blue veil, unable to let anyone in, much less a red handkerchief like me. I have nothing more to say. Words like rain kill all fires. And just one other well, not tidbit per se, but maybe if anyone's interested. Initially, when I was working on this poem, instead of said red handkerchief, I said red shirt. However, after looking through it in the drafting process, I was like, okay, look, this poem is not about communism per se, so therefore I don't want that association. So therefore I switched that to red handkerchief. And honestly, I think handkerchief works better for what I'm going for anyway. But if you feel differently, that's perfectly fine as well. Every poem, if you really think about it, is unfinished. Of course, you could apply that to a lot of stuff that we do. So anyway, I hope everyone is well, and I promise to get another video up a little quicker than this. Anyway, take care, everyone.